Yeah. Order, please. Welcome to the Laramie City Council work session for Thursday, May 14, 2026. And before we start our work session, I'd like to ask, are there any public comments on non-agenda items? Right, anybody online? Sure. But no hands up. Okay. Seeing none, do I have any motions? Councilor Noonan.
Been working hard on this motion. I move to suspend the rules tonight to allow open dialogue between council members and staff, including the use of first names for the purpose of encouraging open discussion.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion for Noonan, second for Lockhart. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. And before I turn the reins over, Joe Shumway will not be here tonight. He has a family graduation function, and Melanie will not be here this evening. So, without further ado,
Vice Mayor.
Huh?
This Vice Mayor.
No.
She's not, oh yeah, she's on vacation.
She's here.
All right. Yes, chickens. Well, without further ado, I'll turn it over to the city manager and Director Wayne.
Councilors, before I turn it back to Director Wade again, I just want to express my gratitude for Director Wade, Spencer Fury, for their extended work on the budget through this time, and for all the directors and efforts that all them and their managers have put forward to this. Tonight's the third night of budget meetings, so we're excited to get through this, and I'm excited for the presentations you'll see tonight. I need to get myself a little bit of time because I'm Nancy Bartholomew tonight, and I gotta figure out how you can read her notes. So I'm going to turn over to Director Wade.
Well, good evening, council members. It feels like we're so far apart tonight. Oh my goodness, it's just like an illusion of space. But tonight it's going to roll just like the other night. You'll hear from departments, and departments will go over their kind of most important budget requests and tell you a little bit about what they do. And then we're done, right? We just have a special meeting on May the 26th. Now, remember, if you want us to consider if you want to consider as a governing body amendments to the budget, you need to have those potential amendments turned in by midnight on May the 19th. And so I know that the vice mayor is working on some of those. If any of the rest of you have ideas running around in your head and you need some help getting those ideas into words, please reach out. And if you can reach out before midnight on the 19th, then maybe if it's a hard idea, we can brainstorm together about how we might be able to implement and capture your thoughts. And so just putting the teaser out, you don't have all that much longer to think about those things. Before we get into department presentations, I want to make sure that I highlight two notes I had from last session, but we just went a little too long for me to feel like I wanted to throw them in. The first is, I don't remember if we talked about this or not, but you may wonder why we don't have a budget for the 2026 SPET. Well, we can't really have a budget for it because the budget book comes out on April the 30th, and the election, of course, was the first week in May. And as you know from your goal setting, you all want to have a kind of a public process, a work session to see how those funds are going to be allocated. And so that budget for the 2026 SPET is going to be built mid-year and really align with the priorities for that work that we all come up with together. Of course, staff will have a recommendation. We'll talk about financing at that meeting, but it would not be normal to see a budget for the 2026 SPET. And so just in case any of your constituents ask you about it, I want you to have an answer for that. Secondly, there was something that came up in the meeting the other day that I realized we hadn't really talked about. And so if you'll remember, the first night we talked about our need to kind of go through and perhaps reprioritize some of the capital plan next year, depending on the construction we can get out of the door. The other thing on our list for next year, just because we do think we're at a competitive disadvantage when we put out for bid, right? Because everyone knows what our budget is, and then magically the work always comes in really close to budget, is for the team here to come up with some creative solutions for how we can still achieve that specific purpose capital budget with a little bit more ambiguity, so that the amount we have for each project isn't as obvious and doesn't work to our disadvantage. And so we're going to be thinking about that for next year, because Chief Johnson is spot on in his observations. And it's not just Chief Johnson, it's across city operations. And so just wanted to make sure that you knew that was part of our plan for next year. And those are all the housekeeping items I had.
Can I ask a housekeeping item? We had a member of the public insinuate that a new staff member is going to make $100,000 in this budget. Can you remind us how you factor what salary, when I assume that includes Social Security and that all?
That would be an all-inclusive cost. And so, and open positions are always budgeted with family health insurance coverage. And that the cost to us as an employer is $24,000-ish, maybe rounding up to $25,000 a year these days. And so that $100,000, you take $25,000 off the top just for health insurance in case they elect family coverage. And then of course, Wyoming retirement pension for general employees is rounding up to 10% FICA. And, which is Medicare and Social Security is 7.65%. Workers' compensation is right around 2%, I believe. I may be a little off on that. And so the actual salary underneath that is probably closer to in the mid-60s.
Jen, in addition to that, could you describe the salary number that we include for unfilled positions?
It really just depends on the position, because some are harder to recruit than others. And so if we have a long established practice of being able to fill a vacancy, we will budget at closer to the bottom of that range, because we know we're going to be able to bring someone in for that pay rate and move them through the pay scale. If it's a new position or a position that we tend to have a hard time recruiting for, we will sometimes budget at maybe the 25th percentile or maybe even the 50th percentile, depending on the position. And so we work with our HR director to get advice on really what that number should be.
Any other questions? All right, Brian, I think tonight we'll start with Nancy Bartholomew's presentation.
City manager, just for anybody watching, this is on last Tuesday's, on Tuesday's agenda.
Correct. So we did roll over the city clerks and administrative services budget presentations due to time constraints. So tonight we'll have city clerk budget, administrative services, public works, and parks and rec tonight. But Nancy did want to say that she's sorry she couldn't be with us this evening. She did have family commitments. The clerk's division is appreciative of the time to review their request. Ryan Schufelt, our deputy clerk, is here to answer any operational questions. If you're following along in the budget manual, the city clerk's budget is on pages 41 through 44. Are you driving the slides for me, Ryan, or do you want me to? Good, got it. So I'm reading off Nancy's script, so I will do the best I can. The city clerk's office maintains the program for, many of you know the city clerk's division has many duties that vary from Wyoming state statute requirements to Laramie municipal code, and then administrative functions assigned to the city manager to the division. They serve a combination of city council, city management, team and staff, as well as our citizens. They serve as a bridge for communication between the public and city council. To further help elaborate the variety of duties carried out in their office, they put together a couple of slides to show some of their duties, such as management and maintenance of city council agendas and associated materials. management and maintenance of city council calendars, reimbursements, travel arrangements, management of the budgets for their division and city council for equipment, operating expenses, and personnel management, processing, liquor license program, business licenses, and alcohol-related permits, as well as compliance of liquor licenses and liquor licenses, retention of city council records in accordance with Wyoming state statute, archives, retention schedules, and maintenance of digital records. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of the city clerk's office. So, they also maintain the program for volunteers and boards and commissions, including accepting and processing applications, setting up interviews with council interview panels, creating summaries and resolutions for appointments for assigned boards, and maintaining the records for expiring terms and advertising positions. They provide open meeting public records act trainings, as well as parliamentary procedures and records retention and management trainings. Run municipal elections in accordance with Wyoming state statutes provisions, and often in collaboration with the Albany County Clerk as appropriate, administer bid opening proceedings and act as staff liaison and/or clerk for the assigned boards and commissions. By this time, she feels like she usually loses people with but a few more items that they didn't include in the slides. Maintenance of the Laramie Municipal Code, submitting code revisions to council and city manager as needed, cash handling for liquor licenses, special events for upcoming events internally and externally. She schedules travel. They schedule travel for the city councilors. You know, it's just a catch-all, a jack of all trades for the city clerk's office. And I think we're all benefited by what Ryan and Nancy provide us. I'm trying to catch up. So Nancy's vision for the division over the next fiscal year is to continue developing staff professionally through education and opportunities. Are we on the next slide? So, she would like to advance employee skills and increase the effectiveness and efficiencies within the division. They would like to continue to improve the communication and support the offer council, the community, and staff through collaborative expansion of opportunities to be out at public events. The city council has created goals over the past couple of years to increase public communication through events and other forms of communication. They will be looking for more opportunities such as calendar advice to notify council about coming events, internally and externally, that they may want to attend. They would also like to improve opportunities to tell the story of the city of Laramie at these events when important issues are at hand. They'll be looking for opportunity to streamline processes related to board and commissions to ensure that terms. Gotta catch up with where I'm at. The screen keeps moving on me. I had to blow it up because I forgot my glasses today, so I can see. So, still, sorry. So, thought I had this better organized. Process related boards and commission to ensure that terms, resolutions, letters, agendas, etc. are standardized. They would like to provide city council opportunities for research on hot topics, sharing projects and success stories with the county, which relates back to helping to tell the story of the city of Laramie. Who we are, why we're doing it, what projects we're doing, and how they are funded, etc. All right. So now on to Nancy's budget request. 29% of the city's administration budget, which is 4% of the city's budget. They've been feeling the impacts of increased division responsibilities over the past few years with additions such as rental houses, license processing, web conferencing for city council and boards and commissions. Additional staff liaison proper responsibilities with the board and such as Laramie Youth Council, Laramie Police Advisory Board, Environmental Advisory Committee, Records Retention, EPNL training. All those pieces have led. The city clerk's office has requested a senior deputy clerk position to assist with maintaining the high standards that their office is doing. High standards of operations with their division by assisting with some of the high-level functions within their office. They would allow to relieve some of the boards and commissions duties from staff liaisons and allowing them to standardize these processes. This position would also make it possible for the division to assist city council with research and support management staff in ways we have not been able to. Operating a division accessible to the public with 2 full-time staff members that are regularly in public meetings, staff meetings, or trainings to maintain the highest level of professionalism can be difficult and was required extra hours spent in the office. She is excited to see the growth in services offered through this additional position. The additional personnel request is to have provisional records clerks that are going to help with records retention. We've been using records clerks to scan boxes, and to date, they've been able to ship 27 boxes of records to Wyoming State Archives for permanent retention within the last 2 years. And what that does is reduces the amount of paper storage that we have in the building and in the offices. It makes the records more readily accessible as they go through. The request is to increase either the hours or the wages, keep the hours the same, increase the wages to try to attract a better candidate, or find a way to get a candidate to get a few more hours and work through and hopefully get the record retention process. I'll stop there.
What are the qualifications of part-time positions? I understand they're lined up for homes. I'm just like 3,200 seems like low.
I think that's in the 3,200s in addition to what is already existing in the provisional budget. If I remember correctly, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 18 hours right now. 18 hours a week. They really are looking for somebody that's attention to detail oriented, because the scanning of a lot of these records are required to be held in archive for a certain amount of time, and they have to be accessible correctly. And so there's a real system to how they're scanned, what's reviewed, what happens if they find duplicates, how they clean it out. And it's quite a process that it takes, and pretty difficult. So far, they've been being supported mostly by upper level college students. And I think that's about the quality of candidate that they're looking to get. It's just a matter of kind of person. Any other questions on personnel? Right, Eric.
So the scanning is happening here, and then the paper records go to Cheyenne. So the meeting have to.
Correct. Correct. If I remember correctly, one of our most recent bills for the paper storage was like $1.50 or something.
So we don't actually pay for the paper storage, it's just the digital archives. And it's very, very minimal cost on how many gigs of records we have stored. And yeah, it was less than like $5.
Of course, the members of council are elected to serve as the legislative body for the city of Laramie. They also approve the budget, employ the city manager, city attorney, approve our legislative actions such as land acquisitions, easement, leases. Try to get down to where I can pick that bottom. I think you guys would probably know each council member serves as a council liaison to elected boards and commissions. Some of the items, if you go to the next slide, related to the council budget. To address the council budget is we're asking for increases for priority areas and promotional supplies for outreach events, professional services. And then there's one large equipment replacement, which I believe was $50,000 for the TriCaster, which is one of the pieces of equipment that's back in the broadcasting booth that helps convert the recording to TV or the website. And so that piece of equipment has started to show faults, and it's time to leave.
And that's the ones listed under capital.
Yes. Yes. And then we'll go, I think, to her last slide, which is in typical Nancy fashion. Thank you with her email address in case you guys don't have it. But Jen and I are here. We'd be happy to answer questions you may have afterwards. Pretty easy. All right. We'll turn it over to Director Wade for administrative services.
Ryan, I sent you an email with my updated one. If you could pull that one up. So poor Ryan. Mine has a pretty quick cadence because it was a Prezi. So we're gonna have to work together on this one. All right.
It's a mess, though.
Cool. So we can just go ahead and go to the second slide to be a little more efficient. Works for me. Okay, cool. That'll do. I call that good. So administrative services, we are officially the most ambiguously named department in the city. I have been here a really long time and I still wonder what that means on a lot of days. But what I think it boils down to is that we provide a wide array of services in both judicial and financial operations. And I think it's really important to talk about that judicial piece a little more than we do. In the end, they're both still administrative type operations, but that judicial component is really unique and pretty special, and it deserves a call out. Our department really creates value through our ability to design and implement quality systems to solve problems and to manage financial resources with exceptional stewardship. And so you're going to see me focus a lot tonight on the systems that we administer, not necessarily the work that gets done, because all of that work is just part of the bigger system. And so I'm going to try to make some of those connections for you so you see how that is the case. So next slide. So our department really performs its work in 3 key teams. We have the municipal court function that really administers the judiciary. We have our customer operations team that manages that front-facing financial operation in City Hall. And we have finance that manages internal financial operations. Next slide. Municipal court, you have a team of 2 benefited employees who lead that function, supported by our customer operations supervisor, Billy Yarich. Although honestly, the clerk of court, Kelly Johnson, and the senior court clerk, Kira Monroe, really are pretty self-sufficient. They are supported by, I think, 1 provisional employee right now, but the bulk of the work is done by 2 benefited employees. As a reminder, if you don't really know how the court works, the municipal court has jurisdiction over local ordinances and certain adopted Wyoming statutes. You all, as a council, appoint our judge, who is Greg Wynn right now, and the municipal court staff really ensure that the judge's orders are carried out. And so they do that through a variety of mechanisms. So you've got that judge's orders piece. And then they're also doing a lot of work to schedule hearings and trials and posting bonds and processing citations and tracking requirements for diversion programs and more. And so there's an awful lot of work that goes into that court function through the various pieces of basically the customers, the inputs to that court operation. Their team values really center on providing professional and respectful service to defendants, jurors, local attorneys, local law enforcement officials, and other people who are involved with the court. And so what you'll often find in people who work for the court is they actually care a lot about the system of justice, and they want to make sure that defendants who show up to the court, or even people who are just coming to pay a parking citation, really understand the process that they're in, and they offer that professional type of service to a population that can feel pretty vulnerable, especially people who are in court. You'll also find that they're typically interested in public safety operations, especially like the work of the Laramie Police Department and the UW Police Department, because they work a lot with those agencies. And so a pretty special group of people that really help things stay organized in a similar way to the city clerk, but in also a way that really impacts people's quality of life, right? Because they're managing things like warrants. And once they put that warrant out there, so there's a judicial part of that, and there's the impact on the other side to the party, right? And so these folks are going to be really aware of that, and they try to do it with a lot of skill and professionalism. Next slide. Our customer operations team, this is the team that you see when you come into City Hall. They're very front facing. They're led by Billy Yarich, our customer operations supervisor. I think you all have met Billy. And this very small team, Heather Bull, who actually works offsite in Arizona and also supports Public Works, Grace Martinez, Tracy Schaefer, and Sarah Armstrong. Sarah is a provisional employee. And this group really provides support for and the design of the system for billing for our largest billing operation, which is our utility operations, right? So the billing for water and wastewater services and most solid waste services comes through this team, as well as mosquito control. These are the folks who are working with Public Works right now to implement the utility billing phase of the software. For a long time, we just called these guys utility billing. It's not really fair. It's not what they do. They also provide kind of centralized cashiering services for that treasury function for the entire city. They also provide that front-facing service at City Hall, and they coordinate residential parking renewal. So there's more going on there than just utility billing. So I try hard to relabel them as customer operations, and maybe one day we'll find an even better label for that. I have some ideas. Next slide. Our internal facing team is just what we call finance, probably because we're lazy and can't come up with a better name. That team is co-led by myself and finance manager Jen Mountford. So again, the joke is that if you say Jen, someone in finance will help you because it's true. There's two of us. And we provide a host of accounting and financial planning and just basic business services. So this is the team where you're going to find mostly accountants on the team, as well as some financial analysts. And so Casey Phillips, Jill Hunter, Dylan Matlock, Spencer Katuri, all accountants, and Katie Robinson is also learning to be an accountant. She's a UW student and a provisional employee. This team really focuses on designing what I say, I think in the budget book, is that they build the business systems on which the city operates. And that is true because when you implement a financial system, it's not out of the box. You actually have to build it to suit. And so this is the team of people with the professional skill to be able to design those systems in a way that they have appropriate internal controls and have the skill to be able to roll that out to the organization in a way that processes make sense. And so you might say, oh, well, they process AP, or we do AP for finance, or we do payroll for finance. It's not really what's going on. What's going on is something much bigger. Because you're managing that disbursement system, or you're managing a revenue system, or you're managing a timekeeping system. And each one of those systems is going to have specific laws and regulations that you have to think about. The one that is the stickiest, maybe not surprisingly, is actually timekeeping, because there's an awful lot of FLSA laws that applies to timekeeping, and there's actually a lot of overlap with HR, a surprising amount of overlap with HR in terms of the administration of this function. And so kind of unique in that way. Most people don't think about that. This team also is the group of folks who understands the language of accounting, bless their souls. I'm so glad people do that work. So they look backwards to history to make sure our financials are correct. And they also are good at looking forward to be able to plan for the future in things like our budgeting processes. This is also where treasury management and investing, and that long-term planning loops in with those budget processes. Next slide. So administrative budget, services budget, we are, I think Ryan, I can't remember how these slides go, so let's give this a shot. So 81% of our budget is for personnel, only about 19% for operating costs. And the lion's share of that operating cost is actually the software license for our ERP system, right? So it's not like things like pencils, it's actually software. Next slide. We have a $1.8 million total budget amount. Next slide. And that's a 4% decrease from decrease from last year. That is just because we had a one-time amount that fell off. It's not because we're shrinking. We did have a small adjustment downward in municipal court for a centrally budgeted adjustment, but it's nothing that we're not shrinking our services in any way. Next slide. And one more click in. So I love this graphic, and this is how I feel about the budget in total, which is probably not a surprise to you. But I really think that budget requests are what transform any goal into reality, because most of our goals that are tangible in earth form, right, require resources. And those resources, whether we like it or not, come in the form of money. And so for administrative services, let's take a look at what we have going on. This next slide. We need some human capital support for the utility billing software implementation. In total, this actually isn't going to increase spending for the city at all. I'm going to transfer about $15,000 from the ERP phase budget into administrative services to fund a little bit of additional labor. Now, what you may not realize is most of the people who have implemented ERP so far are exempt. And what does it mean if you're exempt and you work a lot? Nothing, you get paid the same amount, right? So a lot of the people who are implementing the UB phase are actually non-exempt. And so when they work over 40 hours a week, you're going to need to pay them overtime. And so a lot of this wage transfer is actually for those overtime wages, as well as some additional part-time wages to help with the project. And we're going to fund those part-time wages through a transfer within administrative services. Next slide. We also have the carry forward of our ERP software project. Our last phase, utility billing, will go live in March of 27. Next slide. And you'll see level funding for existing services. Our teams are lean and we value creativity and commitment. And some days that feels harder than others, but we really mean it. And we think that's important because we are an administrative service. And when we cost more, there's less available to get money out into the community for tangible things that people see. And so we try to operate as leanly as we can and really look at ways we can be more efficient in how we deliver our services. And sometimes the things that we should just be saying no to because maybe they don't matter as much as we think they do. Next slide. So for the coming year, this is what we're looking at. Next slide. We have lots of training and development. So on the internally facing finance team, we have so much training to do in 27. We've been in ERP software for so long that many of us who have been here for a while have been doing the existing work so that ERP could get done. So now our new employees get to learn how to do the normal work that is not ERP. And so we kind of have this really cool year of rebuilding. Training and lots of training and mentorship are going to be the theme for our year. On the customer operations side of things, that's going to come in the form of mentorship for that ERP software phase, because that is new business to them. Next slide. We have the utility billing implementation. This team is so enthusiastic, and every time I sit in the room with them, I'm actually just amazed at how prepared they are and how much they're digging in. And it really helps me because honestly, I'm tired of the ERP because I've been on every phase. And so I am so grateful for this group of people because they are bringing such enthusiasm to a project that a lot of people wouldn't approach in that way. And I think it's important for you to hear that as a council. Next slide. Of course, we're going to be supporting your council goals, whether that's diving into revenue, which we're going to do a lot of in the next year, right-sizing our budget, ensuring financial transparency, or helping plan for the new SPED or the results of the youth sports study. Finance is always kind of like closet involved or outright involved, right? And so we kind of are the satellite that float around things, and we make sure that we align with the work of the city council. Next slide. And treasury services will get an overhaul, so it's totally time. So we're really going to be looking at how we plan for cash in our budgeting processes and how we manage cash to get the best return we can based on the type of money that we have. And so if it's an endowment, that we're really maximizing investment because we know that we're investing for the long term. We'll look at things like the landfill closure liability and ask whether we should be accounting for that and managing it as a trust. And we'll be doing some of this work with open settlement funds too, right? So become a little bit more sophisticated in this way to return more value back to our community. Next slide, please. And of course, we'll continue our transparency efforts. I have no idea where this is going to go yet, but what I do know is that we'll do some cool stuff together and we'll keep learning and we'll be integrating that learning into hopefully better service for our community. Next slide. Our values, I love this picture. You know, you see all the different threads and they're all a different color because every human is a little bit different, right? But what matters is that we invest in each other and we produce work that models excellence. And one of the things we say in finance, because you tend to get very dedicated people in these judicial and financial operations who want to do well, right? And sometimes they struggle with perfectionism. And so we like to say it's all about continuous improvement and not perfectionism because that's ridiculous and not possible at all. Next slide. And ultimately what I'm hoping to do with this presentation is to tell you that You know, the notion of a bean counter, our finance person who just sends out a bill and shuts people off and goes to collections is really, really silly and not true at all. Really, people who sign up to work in administrative operations end up being pathfinders, problem solvers, analysts, and honestly, if you sign up to work for government, pretty good folks who enjoy helping other people and enjoy solving problems that most people don't want to think about. Next slide. And that's it in a nutshell. What questions do you guys have?
Brian, if you could go back to the thread slide. I appreciate that Jen has all these nice looking threads that are all nice and cleanly put together. I was thinking about what my thread in that string looks like, and it's kind of kinky and frayed on the edges, and it looks more like the Bride of Frankenstein than those nice clean. I do appreciate that.
That's my fill my
Thank you, Jen.
It's all dirty.
Thank you. It's got a lollipop wrapped in it. Sorry to it. So.
Wait, those are different colors?
That's right.
I'm totally joking.
If there are any questions for Director Wade, I do want to say this: over the past 5 months, she's been my confidant and my guide, and what we've done and any success that I've had over the past 5 months has served into Jen's leadership and guidance through this time. So with that, moving on, we will go on to, I believe, Public Works was next.
All right, good evening, council. Good to be here tonight. So this picture was actually taken a couple of years during Public Works Awareness Week. Owen came out and did some videos and pictures with us. It was a good time. So some of these people have moved on. There's some new people, but we try to get most everybody in there. Public Works has about 85. I think it's actually 87 full-time employees throughout Public Works. The folks listed over on the right are kind of what I would call our I don't know, executive leadership team or whatever, if you will. Sean Klein, Deputy Director, is in the back of the room. Eric Japp, the City Engineer, you've all met. Shane Johnson, our Street Fleet Manager, is back there. And J.R. Slingerland couldn't be with us tonight. We also have Dan is our meter supervisor. Did I get it? Gary Sanchez is our collection supervisor and utilities. Jay Smith, water administration and treatment administrators. Yeah, it's a long. Scott Plums, our utility superintendent. Bill Schott, wastewater treatment plant supervisor. So we got a bunch of folks here tonight, and these folks are all very involved in the budget process as we go through it. A lot of our supervisors have been working through kind of a mentor program on budgeting with the deputy director, and so this is kind of bringing a full circle in the process. So anyway, wanted to introduce that. When we develop the budget in Public Works, my main goal, my main focus is what we say down here at the bottom: maintaining and improving critical infrastructure in the most efficient manner. That's really what we're trying to do, which in turn, to me, always goes back to improving the quality of life for our residents in the community and our visitors. Our process in the budget in Public Works, we usually start the process in September. I'll bring together a large group of folks down to usually our crew leaders. I think a couple of years ago, we even brought in the senior folks. So it ends up being a large group, and we talk about at a high level what the budget that was just approved, and then what's coming up. And we kind of looking through the capital, our overall capital projects. And, you know, did we miss something? Is there something else we need for next year? And I asked the supervisors and managers to really go back and prioritize projects for the next year. And then we meet back in October and we talk about those priorities for their divisions in October. And basically I request a list from them by priorities. November, I usually spend a lot of time with the managers and the engineering group, and we put those all together. Each division has their own priorities, but a lot of those projects, as you've seen, like on items that for last week, go together, right? So Gary in collections might be saying, I need this project, this is my #1 priority, but that street work is a number 10 priority and the water work's a number 20 priority. So we've got to really mesh those together and figure out where they make sense in the most efficient manner possible. Sorry. And then the goal is when we get the forms from the budget team, we're ready to just plug and play, right? We put in all our information, all our justifications, project descriptions. Sometimes by then things have changed a little bit and Spencer calls and says, wait, what's going on? But we work through it. Spencer and Jen have both been great through the process. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I know Jen touched on a lot of this for you all last week. The public works, we span through a lot of funds, right? We touch the general fund, the SPED, capital construction, and all 3 enterprise funds. Next slide, please. So in our general fund, we have five divisions, well, 4 and 1 recommended. Administration is basically me and our divisional coordinator, Cindy Sanchez, who's amazing and keeps me on track. And then our engineering group, we'll talk a little bit more as we go through our fleet folks, our street folks, and the new surface water expanded service. Up on the top right, you can see it as far as general fund goes for public works. Streets is 46% of the general fund budget in public works, and then engineering at 24%, administration 5% is the budget. Slide, please. So I just wanted to kind of high level highlight a couple of the divisions. Our fleet division maintains 343 vehicles and pieces of equipment. These are mainly the ones that are licensed for the road, if you will. A lot of the smaller lawnmowers and things like that, even though they may work on them and maintain them, those aren't necessarily part of our fleet schedule. This team also helps a lot with acquisition of fleet. So they'll help other departments, all departments, on specifications and getting the bidding documents together and all that. That's why sometimes you'll see me at council asking for a word of police cars, because a lot of that goes through the fleet. Fire a lot of times does their own because they're very specialized. But for the most part, our fleet guys handle that whole bidding process, acquisition, specifications. Our street folks, you know, they hustle. They're a group that does a lot of stuff. Anything in the right of way, they got their hands on it. Pothole repair, snow removal, street reconstructions. They're part of overlay projects, gravel, road grading. They spend a lot of time over in West Laramie, especially in the summer. Your traffic lights, your signal lights, all the signs, the pavement markings. If it's in the road, those are the guys. I was going to say Ann Gal, but she unfortunately is being this. Our engineering folks, they administer the design and construction of our infrastructure projects in the city, not just for public works, but they do help other departments quite a bit. If Director Bork needs help on something, a pathway or whatever, reaches out, our engineering folks will help. If the chief needs help on his new police building, he reaches out. all the time. So our engineering folks help across the board when needed, but really focus in on public works projects, but any department across that needs help on capital projects they help with. They also review and inspect all new development infrastructure. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the proposed new division, basically expanding the surface water drainage maintenance under the general fund. City manager's recommending a 3-year commitment for this. I know we've talked about it many times. This includes 5 personnel, 1 engineering project coordinator, 4 street maintenance workers. The personnel, I'm going to break it down a little bit more. On page 72 is where it gets into the surface water stuff of your budget book if you want to look. But the personnel costs there are just over $411,000 for those 5 folks. And again, as Councilor Doherty noted earlier, that includes all the costs, right? All the benefits, all the stuff. Contractual services, like outside consultants, software licenses, concrete repair, things like that, is at $200,665. Materials and supplies, which would be like office supplies, uniforms, small tools, things like that, just over $68,000. And then our capital investment for fiscal year 27 would be $481,000. And you can see what we're indicating there. It's basically those 4 items: replacing a sweeper truck, that's the big dollar amount there. Adding a crew cab pickup truck to the fleet. We're hiring 4 people to do maintenance. They need something to get around in and to haul their tools around in. The gutter bins, you know, we have those downtown. We've got 6 of them downtown now, and we've got actually 4 here at this facility. So 10 total. That's $15,000. The idea is that's 2 more gutter bins. So what we're trying to do is do 2 every year in the downtown area. They've been really successful. Cigarette butts and silt and things like that. And then sewer jet head replacement. So it's not the sewer jet truck replacement, it's the heads that go on there. So there's different heads the guys can put on. They might put on a cutting head that'll cut through roots, or I don't even know what they would call it, but a big flushing one that would send lots of water down, right? So there's all sorts of different heads that go on the end of the jets, depending on what work they need to do there. Any questions on the surface water drainage stuff over there? Yeah.
I have a comment, I guess, not a question. There's already comments kind of floating around the town that city council is going to rubber stamp this budget. But from what I'm seeing here and what I've seen so far tonight, almost everything that's on this budget that's like, there are more workers, more equipment. I came from work sessions that, I don't know, we proposed as council, and so I appreciate all of city staff taking everything that are great ideas, sometimes maybe not so great ideas, and trying to do the best and take the best of kind of what we hear from the public as well, right? Especially this one. We hear that we have a drainage problem. Hopefully this fixes some of it, right? It's not to fix it all. So I just appreciate that you guys are doing this and taking what us councilors talk about in work sessions for a year and try to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you recognizing that. What we're building here is exactly what we talked about in those work sessions with that enhanced maintenance, right? And if you remember, I showed you some of those enhanced maintenance projects that we were doing. And I'll be working with Shane and engineering on building up that web page that we have for surface water to really show that to the public, be public facing on, you know, how many miles of roads are we sweeping? How many lines are we clearing? Things like that. And so we're going to be working on that pretty hard because we want the public to see where their money's going and what it's providing.
I also saw that they were graded in West Laramie today, which I appreciate because those roads were pretty bad because of I wouldn't call it winter, but whatever the heck they had. So I appreciate that too.
I I'm so excited about this, and I know because when you describe what these tools do, I hope anytime there's a camp that we get it. Because it's just phenomenal about what's going on underground and what's going on in the background. And I'm really how appreciative I am of this whole team here today, because it's just phenomenal. And so thank you.
Yeah, you see the picture that's there, that's a root ball basically coming out, right? Today Shane showed me pictures of big chunks of concrete that were down at the storm drain. And those block the storm drains, right? The silt builds up around them. The next thing you know, you have a dam down there and things aren't drained properly. We've got some awesome photos that we're going to get posted that'll really shows what's going on underground.
In relation to that advertising, I just caught up with Owen this morning and asked him to get with Shane Johnson, streets manager, right? Streets manager, to start lining up and getting the news out about what we're seeing, what we're finding, what we're correcting, and the improvements that we're making with this group. And I actually was out today and saw the crew out, and so I jumped in the truck with them and was watching the van or watching the video in the sewer, and I saw those big things of concrete. And so I'm over here talking to the guys. I'm like, how does a piece of concrete that's 3 feet long and about as big as a sausage get 400 feet down a sewer line? And Eric, our engineer Jap, says that's a lot of water that moves out, right? So, but it was what they're doing, what this crew's going to mean for the safety of our community is yet to be seen in full, but it's going to be an impressive change. Yeah.
Brooks, just maybe not a comment / question, but kind of similar to Councilor Doherty and I guess Aaron and Brandon said. You know, one of the things I hear constantly about in a year and a half in city council is streets. I feel like public works is always kind of under the scrutiny of the public, as most city services are. But you know, I really appreciate the capital investment here, and it's kind of a catch-22. I mean, if we don't have these folks that we're hiring on to do this higher level service, then we were probably contracting it out. And so, you know, you're either spending more on contracts, managing that with private folks, or we're bringing them in-house for a 3-year period, see how it goes. And I might have missed this. My question through all that is those 4 street maintenance workers, what will they be doing? Or is that kind of what city manager was saying to you, where that, you know, as we get them transferred over, that, you know, we'll figure out kind of like the specialties that they'll be working on if this budget approved?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be enhanced street sweeping. Shane's working on a street sweeping schedule. We're hoping that with the new sweeper and the new people, we'll be able to actually publish a sweeping schedule, right? So people know to park in the street that day because the sweeper's going to come up. So that's one thing, and the sweeping's huge. That's what keeps all the debris out of the storm drains, right? They're going to be running the jet through, cleaning lines. They're going to be running the hammers through. They're going to be cleaning the drainage ditches we have, maintenance work. I mean, lots of maintenance work.
Thank you.
If I added one more piece that I envision is that they'll kind of oversee repairs of large projects that they run into. One of the ones that Shane had indicated to me was we had a storm sewer that wasn't making the manhole. And that's a big repair, and it takes staff and time to see what the excavation is, look at the pieces. You know, Shane's got a big job already, and to get back into town to manage those contracts is difficult, where this crew can manage those contracts for.
Brooks, I'm sorry, but I just have to add something. And this is to Brandon's point earlier, but I just want to remind the council of all those conversations we had about surface water drainage. So you all determined this new level of service, the one that was lower. This budget number before you, Brooks, has done a fantastic job of letting this kind of new division represent that lower level of service that the council works through. And so really all you're saying is, to Brandon's point, kind of where we picked up and left off, and what we heard the council's direction to be was, let's use that $5 million that we set aside to match the big level of service, and let's go ahead and do the work in the general fund and show people what value this creates for the community. And so that's exactly what we're doing here with this 3-year authorization that'll total about $3.6 million.
I just want to say that while we were going through all of those surface water discussions, exploration, and changes, I really appreciate the resilience and the openness of you and the staff, and the way that rather than working in opposition, we all work together to figure out a solution for where we are at this moment in time. And I love that we were all part of the process together. Thank you.
I got another gray hair too.
I think that's 30 days from here.
This winter.
I don't know, I feel like Jim because I have to clone by special, I guess. Only because city manager said something. I want to do a ride along the streets.
Yeah.
Can I do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to see some of that cool stuff.
Absolutely. What's your number, Shane? Yeah, no, absolutely. We can do that. If you want to just shoot me or Shane an email, we can get things set for sure. Yeah, it's really cool when they're cameraing to go in there and actually watch, because they're sitting in the back of the truck watching the camera as they're feeding it through. It's pretty neat to see what's going on down there. Sometimes it's kind of scary, but it's pretty neat.
I want to comment about the fleets part of this operation. I think that public body know how much we are saving there, because we have skilled people. I mean, 230 some vehicles that they're keeping operation on. I don't usually see you stuck on the side of the road parking that vehicle. Usually if you're on the side of the road, you're doing work. So kudos to them too.
Yeah, we've got some great mechanics. It's pretty neat. You can walk in the shop over there one day and they'll have a fire engine up off the ground, they're working on, and then you walk in the next day and it's always a police car. They might be working on a loader or whatever. I mean, it's pretty neat. You don't see that in a lot of shops where a lot of shops are specialized to one thing or another, but our guys, man, they touch everything. It's pretty cool that they can work on that small engines up to big, huge equipment stuff. So yeah, pretty cool. All right, let's get to the next one, Brad. Thank you. So general fund priorities for operating equipment. I just wanted to highlight a couple of items. Fuel inventory software. Our current fuel inventory software is through the Navigant Enterprise System, which we're phasing out, of course. The new system is an $8,000 one-time investment so that we can track our fuel usage and report that through our inventory. Another item is the walk behind paint sprayer. It just needs to be replaced. It's getting old and we're having problems. That paint sprayer is used to do like parking, say downtown parking, the parking lines. And then also any of the stencils you see in the roadway, so school crossing or the turn arrows or what have you. So a pretty important piece of equipment for us. And then the air compressor and air dryer for the fleet shop. When we purchased the buildings out here, there was one in there that Wyotech had. Really, it was oversized for us. They left that here and it's done. It needs to be replaced. We looked at getting it repaired, and it's such an oversized unit. It was like $80,000 to just get it repaired. So Shane looked at right sizing that for the shop over there, and it's a $21,000 replacement for air over there, and that runs their air tools and airs up tires, and a lot of their tools and equipment they use over there are powered from here. So general fund capital highlighted projects, Spring Creek stabilization. This one we just brought in, what was it, a month ago? I think it was just like about a month ago. So our folks in engineering noticed that we had a stream bank failing in Spring Creek near the Corthill Hill Bridge. And the real concern there was there's a large sewer main not too far from there. And of course, we don't want it to erode back into that sewer line. So city engineer came to me and said, hey, we need to do something here. So we've put some funding in to do some design and, you know, it's probably going to be some gabion baskets or something along the edge there to protect that stream bank and ultimately protect that sewer line. And so we'll get started on that this summer and try to get that buttoned up. And then the CIPP lining for stormwater mains. You know, this is something we do every year. The cured in place stuff has been amazing. People use it all over the world. And it's, I mean, your cost benefit is incredible compared to, you know, digging it up and putting in a new line. So it's been really successful for us. And Shane's actually got some really good pictures of the before and after of that that we're going to show. But so that's a project that we like to do every year. We partner that with the sanitary sewer lining at the same time. We bid them together with the same contractor. It just makes sense that we found they can just do that one. And then a couple of projects in the capital construction fund for fiscal year 27. The Harney Street design, this is between 9th and 15th, full reconstruction. We'll be starting the design this year. We're lining up the construction portion for next year. This is one of those projects where we're looking at, there's some phasing with it as far as we've got a separate project. It's a water line project that runs on 15th Street through the Harney intersection. And so we're working those together. We didn't want to do it this summer because we're going to have so many other roads closed, obviously. So we're gonna phase that out for over the next couple of years, design and build. And then our annual chip sealing project, we put in there every year. It's $600,000 to do a chip seal, extends the road life 6 to 10 years for roughly 1/10 of the cost of an asphalt overlay. So those have been really great projects. We got some really good pricing last year, and hopefully this year. You know, we've already got a few contractors that reached out and said, hey, are you guys doing that again? So that's good news. So looking forward to that project. So for general fund, basically what I did is I pulled out the three biggest ones. The first one is the replacement of a 2008 backhoe for the cemetery, 2008 dump and plow truck for the streets division. And then the street sweeper I talked about earlier, which is just over 10 years old for the surface water. I want to note down there at the bottom, it says enterprise fund fleet replacements are detailed in the budget book on page 81. It should say general fund fleet replacements. Just saw it today, so sorry about that. And then SPET, 2008 SPET projects for fiscal year 27. For public works, we've got outlined 1.8 million in projects, 5 projects. The 2 big ones are listed here: 4th Street reconstruction grant at Ivinson. So that's right out there in front of Fire Station 1. Those trucks have just killed the asphalt out there. We're going to go in and reconstruct that in concrete, and should last a very long time. And then the optimized drainage pond at 19th Street, that's 19th and Reynolds there. That drainage pond is, the grading in there is all off. The inlet and outlet structures need to be replaced. The drainage channel through it needs to be redone. So design and build in fiscal year 27. Yeah.
That still, will we lose the walkway and all that, like that's pretty cool. The detention part of it, it's not great to have an integrated with it.
I think that it'll be through design, I imagine, but I would think we would try to keep that in there if possible. I mean, I know it's used and people love it. So I think if it can be incorporated in, absolutely. It's more, I know the grading there, it like goes the wrong way. And then the inlet and outlet structures don't work properly is that. So the city engineer is making a note right now to try to keep the pathway through the
Brooks, where is that? 19th and where?
19th and Reynolds on the next to it's a daycare center there, I believe. Basically, I'll see. Okay, next page. And I failed to tell you that on a lot of these, I have page numbers at the bottom of the slides. Those page numbers are references for your budget, but. Okay, so moving out of general fund, we're going to start talking about enterprise fund stuff. So this is for our water fund. Those 4 folks there are part of our pumps and wells and treatment plant folks. I think they're all level 4 operators now, is that right? Okay. 3. 1 level 3. And they're all good guys. They work real hard. So for the water fund, highlighting some operating and routine equipment stuff, we have increased shipping costs for some overnight sample delivery. EPA has changed some rules on holding times for samples and requires basically within 24 hours. So overnight delivery costs for the samples are going up. Equipment repairs and treatment plants, this includes a lot of small items like generator scales, some lab equipment, things like that. So this is more small equipment within the treatment plant. And then our fire hydrant maintenance and replacement program, we started last year. We've got a lot of older hydrants out there in the system. Some of them honestly just don't work. And so we're working on getting those replaced over time. For capital projects, our big one for fiscal year 27 is the water treatment plant PLC and SCADA replacements. PLC is programmable logic controllers, and the SCADA is supervisory control and data acquisition. So the PLCs are basically the programming at the device. Say it's a pump, right? It's a computer at the pump. If they can program, the pump comes on at this time, the pump goes off at this time. The SCADA portion of it enables us to monitor and control those from remotely. And so they go hand in hand quite a bit, but those are really, really old, like really old and need to be replaced. I think we had EPA told us it was the second oldest they saw ever. So, yeah. So the guys have done a great job keeping things operational, but it's time for us to move on and get these things taken care of. I did want to note some of our big ongoing projects. The Zone 1 tank, you guys have heard a lot about. Came to you just a few meetings ago about the $10.1 million loan award with the 0% interest rate. For that project, that's in design right now. And then the 41T3 well and treatment project. I think we've got that around 2.4 million right now. And the city engineer told me that we should have final plans for that from the consultant here in the next couple of days. And so we'll be able to get that out to bid pretty soon. You received them tonight? Perfect. And then also the fleet portion for the water fund. You may recall a month or two ago, came to you for a resolution to apply for an SRF loan for a new hydro excavation truck that was really specifically for the lead and copper identification. And that also is a 0% loan. And so that's the big fleet portion in any questions there on the watershed? Yeah.
I'm wondering, so fire hydrant maintenance and replacements. I'm curious why that's in water fund and not general.
It's part of the water system. Yeah, I mean, our folks in the water division maintain all those. Fire does do testing and fire flows on them. And we work with them when they do that. But as far as maintenance and replacements are concerned, the water fund handles those. Firemen don't want to fix. I saw the end of here. All right, next slide. We got you're there. Wastewater fund. So there's the camera truck right there. So capital and the wastewater fund, the north side outfall line. So we got a $2.5 million loan on this, SRF loan on this. I think it was in 2018. We've been struggling with easements on that project, and without easements, we can't get final design completed. I think we're making some progress now, but new estimated costs, we need another 2.5. So this would be to go back for that 2.5. Now, north side outfall line runs all the way from the main lift, which is over here by the river, all the way out, asphalt lane to 30th, picks up that whole Sirius Sky area up there, takes a lot of pressure off of the Reynolds line. And so it's a really important project for the existing stuff that's there, but also any development that occurs up on the north side of town. So we have partial design on that, but until we get the easements finalized, we won't have final design. Hopefully we can get that done this year. We've had some movement there. So anyway, it's going to take another 2.5, but that'll be a great project for this community. And really open up some development on that north side. Right now, everything up past Sirius Sky, there's not capacity at Reynolds for that. So this opens up all the capacity. And then ongoing project, the West Laramie Lift Station, $11.6 million project, that's underway. The bulk of that work is going to happen in the fall. We got to kind of wait for the water table to go down because a lot of that equipment is down underground, and we obviously don't want to work with water table side. Big fleet replacement for them is the 2016 sewer jet used for cleaning sewer lines. And then operating and routine equipment, sewer camera truck wrap, which I'll talk about here in just a second. It's for public awareness. It's a one-time $8,000 cost. And then our annual manhole replacement program. We started that program last year also. We've got almost 2,500 manholes within the system. Some of them are very old. When you open them up, they're stacked red brick in there, and the mortar in between them is falling apart and too dangerous for our folks to enter for maintenance. And if those collapse, we can have holes in the street and everything else. So we've started replacing those older manholes. A lot of those, if we're doing a sewer project or what have you, those get done with the sewer project. And so our utilities folks and engineering folks need to coordinate, don't go replace that one because we've got a project coming up type thing, right? And so, but yeah, really important project that Gary's been leading on and been really good for us. Next slide, please. So this is our, oh yeah.
Percentage, give us the total number of animals, but about what percentage was replaced last year you hope to replace?
So what we've indicated in the budget is we're trying to do at least 5 a year. I think with the cost we've been seeing, we can do more than that with this, as long as our contractors have the capacity to do that. So this, we got some talented folks over on our collection side. They did a mock-up for our truck wrap. And so this is $8,000, which, man, when I first saw it, I was like, that's a lot of money, right? But if this can prevent one bad backup and clog, we probably pay for that $8,000, right? Having the people out, the equipment out, if there's a claim that goes in because we backed up into somebody's house, if this truck wrap can stop one clog, I think we're ahead of the game.
It's always on the weekend, right?
It's always in the weekend. Gary's always on the weekend.
Or late at night.
Yeah. So anyway, we've seen this across other communities that have done a lot of this, especially during COVID. There was a lot of it going on because there were so many wipes and things being flushed. But anyway, I don't know if this is exactly what it's going to look like when it's done, but this is their mock-up right now. All right, next slide, please. All right, the solid waste fund. The landfill vouchers are ready. The QR code up there should work. We need a landfill voucher for this year. The Baylor building lighting is the first project I wanted to talk about. So that building out there, the Baylor building, we built in 2012, 2013, and the lighting in there is just diamonds. And that building can get kind of dark in there. And so we want to update it with some more energy efficient lighting, first of all, but then just to give some lighting for safety for the public and for our workers in that building. We've got quotes in at around $17,000 for that. It's a one-time cost. Rentals and leases, this is a $40,000 reduction. You may recall last year we purchased a grinder for the compost program. And so we don't need to rent a grinder every year anymore. So this is a $40,000 reduction in rentals and leases for the landfill. The big project we have coming up is the landfill stage 2 expansion. $4 million project. It's under design right now with Tri-Hydro. The project will construct future cells, leachate ponds, and the stormwater facility is out there. We will be applying for SRF for that this year. We'll start that process here in a couple of months. And it's just the progression of the landfill. The next one needs to be done so we can move on. And then as far as fleet, we are requesting an addition to the fleet, a new large loader out there. We have one large loader that just runs all over the place, 250 acres. And that thing is all over the place and really busy. And when we're turning compost rows, a lot of times wastewater treatment plant brings their loader out and runs it all the way over. And so anyway, we have a real need for that loader. We've probably had that need for a while now, but now we're asking. We're asking now. The other thing I didn't highlight here is we are requesting one more FTE here for the landfill. There's been, over the years, we haven't really added staff, but we've added lots and lots of programs out there. And the compost program, which has been, in my opinion, a real success, has blown up and takes a lot of time to monitor temperatures and turn the windrows and do the grinding and the mixing of those. And it's almost a full-time job for somebody just to do that. The landfill is also a 6-day operation, so that extra staff is really needed so that we're not so lean on, a lot of times on Saturday or Monday, we're kind of lean so that people can have 2 days off in the rep. So having that extra person will really, really help out there. It really came to light this spring when we had the really bad winds and we were struggling to keep up with the litter and everything else we needed to do. And so talking with the city manager, we decided, now's the time we need to get this done and get another person in there to help out.
First,
Yep.
just for anyone that might be online listening or watch this later, but I didn't know about this until I was like, you just explain to the public what the voucher is?
Yeah, so the voucher, landfill voucher is basically for one free load to the landfill per household. So you can go online through our new program and apply for a voucher. And you get basically emailed to you, and you can take it out to the landfill, and it's basically a pickup truck size load of stuff, and present your voucher at the scale house there, and off you go. So it's a free load. So encouraging people to clean up the community, clean up their yards, and get it to the right place. Yeah.
Along those lines, you're talking about green waste is free, right?
Correct. Yeah, green waste is free. The glass you can bring out for free. E-waste, household hazardous waste. There's a lot of those items that we take for free. Mostly the stuff we want to keep out of the landfill, right? Metals, most recyclable items. There's single stream recycling. There's a small fee for a minimum $5 fee for single stream recycling. But yeah, the green waste that's one of the reasons I think it's been so successful is because it's free to bring out there, and then we divert that from the landfill into a certain area where we grind it and make compost out. So my last slide, really on this is just basically all of our main funds, a general fund, and then our 3 enterprise funds, and really is what I wanted to show here. And I think the budget book kind of highlights it is that In the general fund, our personnel is the highest percentage of the budget, whereas in our enterprise funds, they're very capital heavy, and that's where the majority of the funds are spent. So that's what I have for you folks tonight, and I'll take any questions if we got them.
Just a comment of your background.
So I gotta tell you, I sent this presentation over to the city clerk and the city manager and Director Wade, and none of them commented.
That's Levante Lake.
Yes. So
It's too soon.
Director, I wanted to comment that, you're adding in the surface water drainage for the 1.1 million this year over, previous year, that you were still able to keep the budget pretty much the same from 26 to 27. So I give you and your staff, I commend that.
thank you.
So I'm just gonna brag a little bit about Public Works because I want to. You can't tell from these slides and you can't tell from the budget book because it's not rolled up in this way, but I did some quick math because that's my thing. And $43.2 million of the budget is for Public Works. That's what Brooks has just talked to you about. And all the people in the room who helped him prepare for it. That's why it takes all that effort, right? It's half the city's budget. And that's in a year where we pretty much said, hey, look, guys, no new capital. Let's just focus on design because we need to get caught up. So that's probably a little lower than it is in a normal year. And it takes a lot of effort and care and attention because when that doesn't happen, especially in Public Works, it has a pretty tremendous financial impact. And remember, these are your rate supported operations. And so this amount of care is something that I really appreciate. And just want to tell the council, like how much of the budget you just saw in a really subtle way, in a very skillful presentation.
I just want to add, this is the third year in a row I presented budget on my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
I knew that. I thought you were mortified. So I thought.
I must have missed the budget line in there to keep you here.
Yeah.
Is that not in here? Oh.
Thank you, Director Wynn. If there's no further questions for Brooke, we'll move on to Parks, Recreation, and Public Services.
Director Bond, do you want to sit up here?
No, I'm gonna sit over here. That Brooks was gonna get us.
Yeah.
I mean, I can sit over here and see the podium. I'm not gonna stand at the podium.
It's on a space right there.
Come on, I got to go eat cake this time. Ice cream cake? Just around her. Is that what?
Cheesecake.
So,
That's public work time.
Good night.
All right, thank you.
You guys.
Thank you for coming. She's with the state.
Thanks.
All right, you get the fun department to round out the evening. So let's see. I guess we can just go to the next slide. This is just my title page, but I do like to put pretty photos of people using our facilities. So I wanted to just start off by saying, Parks, Recreation, and Public Services, we're super proud to be able to contribute so much to the health and wellness, quality of life, youth development, natural beauty, and just really being able to be an integral part of creating a sense of place here in Laramie. The department's responsible for a host of services that contribute to these factors, and some of them are a lot more visible than others. Everyone's familiar with our fantastic parks and trails and open spaces. A lot of people enjoy the programs, classes, and amenities at the Recreation Center, or enjoy skating in the Ice and Event Center. But less familiar, or maybe less public-facing, are the dedicated staff at the Granny Hill Cemetery, who provide services for families in their time of need. or the maintenance workers keeping all buildings running throughout the city, or the dedicated staff, mosquito control, and integrated pest management, helping keep our city safe, protected, and better able to enjoy the outdoors for everyone. Parks, Rec, and Public Service does all of that and more. So this first slide is just really just a real basic organization. Within the general fund, we have 7 divisions. We have administration, which is basically myself in a small business office. Our facilities management, which manages all of the janitorial, custodial, the preventative maintenance and repairs and work orders throughout all of the city facilities. Obviously, our parks and trails, and under that is Regional Cemetery, mosquito, and integrated pest management. And then our recreation division with the Ice and Event Center and our recreation programs. And then in addition to that, we also have our recreation center fund, which I just listed 3 of many things that we have there, but our fitness and wellness programs, our aquatics programs, and just our general recreation programs as well. So that's just our general organization at Parks and Rec and Public Services. Next slide. Just as you've seen a lot of these pullouts from the fantastic budget book that Jen and Spencer created. So, just like Brooks, I couldn't help but steal some of those images to highlight. Really, the main message on here is just like you heard from others, within the general fund of Parks, Rec, and Public Services, by far the biggest bulk is our personnel. But that's because of all of the things that we do. It's very people centric. You can see the pie chart. I just wanted to show again this breakout of really how the general fund is broken down throughout the division, and really pretty equally spread between facilities management, parks and trails, with everything else kind of taking up other pieces. But we have a very diverse department with a lot of people spread all throughout the city. Next slide, please. So as we start talking about our priorities, I wanted to just highlight a common thread throughout this year's budget, which is our repairs and improvements line. You're going to see that through several divisions highlighted here, and they're either called equipment and infrastructure improvements or repairs and improvements. And what this is an effort to add some money into each one of these divisions for not taking care of everything, but some of these repairs that pop up that are just going to keep happening as our facilities get older. So as you see, like within parks, it's $40,000, recreation center, $75,000, Ice and Event Center, $25,000, and within facilities and cemetery, $12,000 and $10,000 respectively. And what our hope is we hope that this, reduces some of the amendments that we have to bring you all. As everybody knows, some major system repair could be more than that 75,000. But what we hope to do out of this is if we can keep our preventative maintenance on track and really recognize things and get them repaired before they break, we hope that this can carry us or at least give us this good first year test of, did we hit the mark? Were we under? Were we over? Because this is also not just repairs. You can see it's also improvements and equipment. So, towards the end of a fiscal year, if we've got some leftover money, maybe we'll buy that extra pump that we know might go out. It's old. It hasn't gone out yet, but great to have one on the shelf. So if it does go out, we're not waiting 6 or 8 or 12 weeks for a replacement. So just wanted to highlight that as one overall highlight theme throughout the department, and then we'll move into some of the more specifics. So next slide, please. So within the general fund, again, specifically within our personnel, operating, and maintenance, I just wanted to highlight a few things. The first, and to me, one of the most needed is a new park maintenance position within our parks division. It's been over 20 years since we've added a full-time position at parks. If you can imagine and think about all of the improvements that have been made in our park system in that time, So it's definitely needed. And so I thank the city manager for approving this request and moving it forward to you all. But this position is going to be able to help take some of the pressure off of our parks crews out there. But as importantly, it's going to allow to have another crew leader so that one of our park maintenance supervisor, Mike Malloy, can actually do some of the supervisory duties that he should be doing. But oftentimes he's pulled out into the field because we're shorthanded. And so this is going to give us a much better ability to, again, handle what we've got. And again, we've got projects that we're developing right now that we're going to be taking on even more maintenance responsibility. So that's an important position and priority for us. The next I wanted to highlight is out of our facilities division. This is, I would consider, not necessarily thinking out of the box, but thinking around the corner. In the summertime, our facilities division needs a couple of vehicles, but it doesn't need a couple of vehicles year round, because in the wintertime, we can use the park vehicles that are in the summer being used by our seasonal workers. So we have plenty of vehicles in the wintertime, but in the summertime, we need a couple of vehicles for our park staff to get around. Instead of trying to add to fleet, where then we would have even more vehicles sitting not used as much in the winter, we last year started going through United Rentals and just renting two light duty pickup trucks. And that has really made it a lot easier for our maintenance folks to haul equipment around, cleaning supplies around. Prior to this, I wasn't aware, as soon as I put a stop to it. They were putting like city vacuum cleaners and cleaning supplies into their own personal vehicles and driving from location to location. And so this was a way to have it is an impact. It's $15,000, but that's a lot less expensive than adding two trucks onto the fleet. So we thought that was a great thing. Last year it was not budgeted for, which is why you see it in this year's budget. Last year was an experiment and worked out well. And then last one that I wanted to highlight in the just operating and maintenance is program supplies. You'll see a couple of areas in the budget. Just like Brooks, at the bottom of the screen is actually page numbers that reference the budget, but the dialogue is on there. So if you've got it pulled up, you can see within the budget page what that is. But the recreation program supplies, we are really excited to be planning to launch a whole variety of different new youth and adult programs in the community. And so with that, if we're offering more programs, we need to be able to buy more supplies. So you see slight increases in several of our line items related to supplies and activities. And so we're very excited about that. And that covers the operating and maintenance highlights.
To Councilor Doherty's point earlier, the park position, the maintenance position for $78,000 includes everything. That is not what that person's being hired for. It includes benefits, retirement, everything. So we on Tuesday had a constituent that saw that and thought that's a really high salary. And so I just wanted to point out again that it includes everything.
That is correct. That 78,000 is with benefits included. And I can't remember exactly, but it's around a $50,000 a year entry level park maintenance.
I think we could amend to add a couple $100 to buy those vehicle magnets and stick them on the rentals.
We
identified.
We bought them last year. We did, yes. I did not want incognito vehicles running around with park staff in there.
We might have to consider things that talk about dog food, picking up dog food on this bench, like with the drains.
I mean, we could have a whole session brainstorming the wrap that could go around 10%.
We are considering wraps for the Zamboni if we are getting requests for that as well. So you can wrap it. Still does wrap it all.
I never get it on my jacket.
Yeah. Taking a course. Okay, next slide. If there's no other question. So within the general fund capital budget project highlights, I wanted to highlight two that we've got coming up for this upcoming year. The first is the Walmart pathway lighting project. This was Something that has been identified as a safety corridor issue, if anybody's familiar with between Boulder and Walmart, that very dark trail, there's actually a wide junction that has a light that, it's difficult to maintain that light just as a standalone solar. So this project would actually provide lighting from Boulder all the way to the Walmart pull-in driveway. So we're very excited, and that number was based off of some estimates that we had gotten prior, so we're pretty confident in that. And the next one is one that I know may have been talked about, but it's probably the first time it's been publicly talked about, and I felt it was important to include this in the budget. Our cemetery, it has many more years of operational life, but we are running out of sellable spaces. That's why, if you remember, we went and purchased some Oddfellows spaces last year because we realistically have about 5 to 6, maybe 7 years of sellable full-size spaces left in our cemetery. So we requested $75,000 not to build a new cemetery, but to engage in a study about what we may need. We envision this study to include some site proposals, looking at several potential sites in town, as well as best practice on design, best practices even in some more modern operation. We've got a cemetery going back to the 1870s. It's been there a long time. It's kind of locked into place of how it can be set up. And I know that there's more modern, newer designs that help maximize maintenance, lower green use, figuring out ways to lessen water consumption, things like that. So we envision this to be the first step towards a much longer discussion as we move forward, but we felt it was important to get that first step taken. So we intend on engaging with a company to help with that if this is approved. Next slide. And in the general fund capital construction fund projects, 2 projects that I wanted to highlight. Levante light pole project, that $300,000, that is a multi-year project designed for probably at least the next 2 or 3 years of the same amount. Each one of the fields, and we've got 3 fields there, it's estimated for needing to about $300,000 just to replace the poles and the lights themselves, bring them up to more modern, get them upright so that they're not leaning, and just generally make good improvements to that. The next one is the replacement of the Washington Park wading pool. It is time. This $100,000 does not replace the Washington Park wading pool. This is again a multi-year project. This first year would be to engage with a recreation design firm. We envision, we've got the removal of the existing wading pool, and our vision for the new splash pad spray park at that same general location is also we have to include design for improved water and sewer, possibly improved restroom facilities there, as well as the splash pad. We wanted to really serve a large community area. There's a lot of great modern designs. So we don't really have, I gave an estimate for a potential total project, but I wanted to start this first year with just the design because there's lots of great new innovations. So this would start that project, and we envision it to be at least a 2 to 3 year venture.
When you raised this idea earlier, I think we were going to do something instead, but I want people to realize that with increasing heat, and also that this is something that all ages and people with disabilities to have the splash pads. And I think this is a great idea. But I would like us to be conscious of light pollution with those 2 lighting projects, because those fields, man, they really light up the sky. They're getting comments from constituents. How can we be more thoughtful? And I think we try to be, but I just want to make sure that's part of it.
Aaron, if you haven't had a chance, the Parks crews recently replaced the lights at the red and green.
Yeah, the
Red,
red,
red, or just green.
yeah.
The new LEDs are so much more directional and keep the light on the field instead of having it display and spread out. I think you'll be pretty impressed with what the new technology does. Those lights on those poles, I don't know how old they are. We're getting at the end of being able to replace ballasts and do the changes, but we've also had good luck with the local electrician that's kind of come into their own on providing these lighting systems that has been a bit significant cost savings over the national brand. So pretty excited about what they proposed and the opportunities that provide us.
Yeah, and in addition to that, with those new LED projects at the Little League field, we also installed a new, it's a test timing on and off system. So actually from an app now, our staff can actually turn the lights on and off. We can have them programmed to go off and on at better times. And that's been a problem at all the fields is people just leave them on. And we'll get, messages at 3 o'clock in the morning that the lights are still on. Those are expensive lights. I mean, just to have them on. And so all of these improvements, both LED and better on-off technology and timing systems, putting some responsibility on some of our outdoor user or outside organization users as well on how to properly schedule and let us know when they're done, or potentially even enable them to turn the lights off with the app as well. So all of those are great energy savers and light pollution reducers. Next slide. And then within the general fund, our 2018 specific purpose tax projects that we're still working on. And it looks like we've got the old file, that old slide still up there. It is not $100 million for the West Laramie Connector Trail. That's $1 million.
We all have had that tonight. It's totally fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine, but I actually corrected it on my slides. They are gray. But this is a highly anticipated project. In fact, you'll be seeing a contract bid award coming before you on Tuesday of next week for this project. But this is the funding to actually pay for it. This connects Pierce Street in West Laramie over to Snowy Range Road via the old railroad line and railroad trestle bridge. This project includes a rehabilitation and repairs to the trestle bridge as well. So it'll be getting new decking, new railings, as well as some support structural shoring. So we're excited about that project. We're actually going to have our first bicycle roundabout. You'll hear more about that on Tuesday as well, but our first bike roundabout as part of the project at an awkward intersection of the Greenbelt Trail. So we're excited for that, but 1 million, not 100 million. And then we've got playground replacements. There's actually 2 playgrounds and then another improvement. I just lumped them all together. But the total project is $425,000 for all of them, and it's to replace the Levante East Playground, the Odell Mini Park Playground, and then begin a project of replacing the dugouts at Levante Park. They're not ADA accessible. They flood and retain water a lot. And so again, part of this funding is to do one of the fields, probably the same one that we replaced the lights on, and then just kind of make our way through over the next few years. But that's going to be a great improvement project as well. Next slide, unless there's questions. So now we've moved over to the Rec Center Fund. And let me catch my slides up here. We did have a few notes. So I thought I was feeling poetic a little while ago. The Rec Center is one of the jewels of Gem City. I know, I'm the first person to say that. I know. And continues to operate as a central hub for the community's fitness and wellness and aquatics in the community. Quite honestly, every time I walk into that building, I'm amazed that it's over 20 years old. It does not look its age. And that to me is a testament to how well it was constructed at the beginning, how well people have cared for it over the last 20 years. And we have every intention of continuing it for another 20 years. It's still in remarkably good condition. So the other day at our first budget meeting, Jen covered a lot of the basics of the rec center fund. So again, I'm just going to focus the last two slides on just a couple of the highlights out of this next year's budget requests. The first one is a continuation of these two lead aquatic staff positions. So we started that back in 2022 as COVID was really still in a lot of effect for public facilities. And these 2-year full-time positions are benefited full-time lead aquatics people that provide assistance to the aquatics manager. The duties as they have been split out wind up that one of them is more in charge of kind of staff development and in-service training and certifications, and the other one is more in charge of deck schedules and scheduling of activities and things like that. But I can say that, you know, just in the year and a half that I've been here, the value of having those folks that can be on deck, really dealing with the operation of the pool, allowing the aquatics manager to focus on more strategic things and managing the budgets and things like that, has been well worth it. So we requested the last 2-year authorization ends this year, so we're requesting an additional 2-year extension of that because it has been very valuable. And then the last one that I put on here isn't really a general or a rec center fund request, but if you recall, I brought a resolution to you all from the last ACRB, Albany County Rec Board. And in that request, the Park Street Rec Board had not approved the Adventure Kids trailer as part of the original recommendation that they made to you. When I brought this to the Albany County Rec Board, they felt differently, and so they added this project back in. And it was one that I was really torn on because as I am the administrator of the city's ACRB process, as the PTR board was deliberating it, I really didn't feel it was my place to be bargaining with them for it. They had to have their discussion to make their decision. But this was one that really was impactful because not only is it going to house a lot of our existing Adventure Kids activity supplies, but we're planning on using that trailer for an art in the park or a rec or traveling rec program to start going out and bringing recreation out to at least all of our major parks. You know, on some sort of a schedule, and having this trailer being able to haul these supplies was going to be, you know, kind of an integral part. If you recall, we got a sports trailer that's been heavily used and you know, it's seen all over the community. It's wrapped also. I'm sure we'll get this trailer wrapped as well. But I really thought that was a wise move, and I'm glad that it was able to come back on and that we'll be able to move forward with this program plan. And again, I wanted to just highlight the same thing. If you see, you know, personnel in the rec center fund accounts for 60% of our budget. And I know that we are just super happy to have such a great facility and a fund that can be of a special purpose like this. It's challenging, you know, trying to think more entrepreneurial in that business operation, but we've got a lot of great innovative people in the rec center, and something that was just launched today, in fact, that we've been working on is we are now just today launching a summer pass at the rec center. We had a lot of feedback from people that, you know, realistically, they've got kids, they've got jobs, they've got things going on. They don't want to have a full rec center membership, but they do want to use the outdoor pool a lot. And so we created it's just June, July, and August. If you purchase that rec center pass, it's 10% discount from our regular rates, and we hope that provides a significant boost to our summer revenue. And we're super happy that staff is always innovating new and exciting ways to engage with the community. With that, I think the last slide is it should just be. Oh no, sorry, I forgot about the capital projects at the rec center fund also. We got two of them that I highlighted. The first, if you've used the gym floor lately, it definitely needs some resurfacing. It's been a number of years since it's had a full refinishing. In fact, it's been over 10 years is what we found. It was 2013, I think, was the last full refinishing. So we're going to go in. It's going to require probably at least a 2 to 3 week shutdown of the gym area. We're not sure how that'll work. We've got to keep it sealed so that we don't get dust in on it after it's been sanded and whatnot. So we're figuring out that schedule, but it'll get stripped fully down, sanded. We've got old logos on the floor, so we'll get new logos put in that are more modern rec center logos, new striping in the gym, as well as the athletic or the dance studios will also get sanding and refinishing up in the dance and cycle studios, and et cetera. And then the last one is really, not, you all are probably not as excited as I am for window resealing. These windows are original to the building, and when we had a couple of breaks, as we were inspecting the windows and as they were moving the seals to fix the broken windows, they were seeing, the rubber is degrading, as is expected with the UV that we get here, it being rubber. So we propose this $60,000 to go in and replace all of the rubber seals throughout the building. It'll hopefully, extend the life and keep water from intruding. We have several spots that occasionally a little bit of water will leak. It's not consistent enough for us to be able to track down, but we suspect it's coming from some seals that just aren't quite working as well. So that is the capital project highlights. We do not have anything in the capital construction fund this year, and there's no upcoming SBT projects for the rec center this upcoming year either. So with that, I believe the next page is mine. If you have any questions, with one of our beautiful Rotary Park new signs.
Councilors, I think, although there may not be construction fund projects, the SBT projects that are probably most notable, the Spring Creek Trail Phase 2, the West Laramie West Side Connector, Coughlin Bull Mountain, Optimus Park, ADA accessible fully
inclusive playground,
inclusive playground,
and the bike park,
and a dog and
bike park.
Yep. So there's a lot going on in Parks and Rec.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to actually talk about that too. So I want to add something because the folks you're seeing today, except for me, because I'm a tiny department, right? These are our multi-fund operations. And so it can be a little bit harder as a member of the council to actually understand the scope. It's really easy with police and fire when you see the chiefs, because they're in the general fund and they don't really have capital projects. And then the equipment they have also falls in the general fund in their division. So it's easy to see the percentage of the budget they are and what they cost. A lot harder to see that with Parks and Recreation and Public Works. And so I just want to give you a sense of scope here. And so fire, their budget in the general fund for the year is about 8.9 million. All of Parks and Rec's budget is about 9.6 million. The police budget is about 10.6 million. And so I don't think most people realize that Parks and Rec is actually of a similar size to police and fire because it's really easy for that to get hidden. And then again, I'd say this is a year where we don't have a lot of new capital appropriations. Most of them are more like maintenance kind of things like Mike has pointed out. And so that's probably a little bit lower, but Parks and Recreation is definitely a department we invest in at the same rate at which we invest in our public safety services. And I'm just not sure most members of our community realize that. Now, of course, if you combine police and fire, it becomes a little bit different, but I just don't think people have a sense of that scale. I also want to talk just a little bit about SPT because this council just planned an SPT investment for the next decade. And it looks so, every SPT, like we've talked about before, looks a little different. So I'm going to go through a couple of fun facts to tell a story, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm telling that story. So in 2001, about 50% of that ballot went to the recreation facilities we all love. 50% of the ballot. That's why we have the recreation center. It's why we have the Ice and Event Center, but for that work, it wouldn't have happened. In 2010, almost 100% of that ballot went to our rate-supported operations, because you'll remember us talking about on 2 work sessions ago, all those financial plans, that's when we were starting that 10-year planning processes, and we really needed that tax revenue to support and get those rate-supported operations off the ground, or users wouldn't have been able to afford our rates. In the 2018 tax, Todd did a very good job allocating 27% of that ballot to various Parks and Recreation items. A lot of work for parks, which we hadn't been able to invest in before, and it was really important. little bit more modest to the recreation center. I think it might have been 2 million or something like that. This ballot, we don't have anything for parks, right? Because we have this big need in public safety facilities, and we have about $2.5 million for the recreation center. So I'm saying this to tell you that SPET, right? That SPET really supports the general fund and carries us through a period of about a decade. And so what I see is that the general fund is going to need to really get serious and continue investing in maintenance type items for parks and recreation in particular, because they don't have a very big portion of this next SPET. And I think we're going to have to work for it, right? Because we have this stuff like the youth sports study, and we have this vision for the community, and none of that's going to be achievable. Like maintenance stuff will be achievable in the general fund, but the ways in which we want to grow this, you know, Mike mentioned having that more entrepreneurial mindset. That's going to be really important to deliver the level of services that we need for the community, because there just wasn't room on the SPET with the needs of the county and the town of Rock River and Laramie combined to be able to do that. And so that's what's on my mind as I'm listening to Director Bork and his presentation. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows, right? The decisions we make have an impact. We're going to have to keep investing in Parks and Rec, maybe more than we did in the past, but that's because we made a choice to prioritize these other items in the SPET, and that's how that all works together. Do you guys have any questions about that or comments?
I would love to comment on that, Director Wade or Jen. Thank you. That is such a helpful perspective, I think, to share, and something that I'm constantly learning on council is just that history to understand where we are. And, you know, I think part of our job as council is we're laying what city staff does on our ideas, but the work that we're doing and finding ways to communicate that to the public who might say, you know, the rec center fees are too high, and you know, that's looked at all the time, I think, by Director Bork and Parks and Rec Board, whatever. But you know, like, to understand the investment that we're going to need to upkeep some of these things and why is super critical. So I really appreciate that. I think it's going to be for the next couple of years too important to revisit that. And I know you're maybe prepping us for that, but
yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm just prepping you for what's ahead. But I think I'm talking about it early, right? If you have people who are critical, I think it helps to say, no, we made this decision here, it means this thing here, nothing's wrong. It's just how you balance all those pieces.
And I would make one other comment. Sorry, guys. You know, but I think, you know, the Parks and Rec Public Services also, just like all our other departments, are really lucrative in how they can find funding and resources. And you know, a budget can tell a story, and you know, Jen, you're doing such a good job over this course of trying to give us the tools to tell that story. And I mean, I can't, every time I ask Mike a question about where did the funding come from, it's a grant here, or it was leverage from the SPET tax that has match, or just amazing what we're able to do outside of just this budget in these departments. And I know those folks are finding funding and resources all the time. So just thanks to Mike and all the department heads that are constantly doing it.
I just want to say I received all kinds of compliments about the signage. And as I drive around the town, I have subsequently discovered parks I never knew were there. It's really tiny parks. Yeah. So that's cool. I have a question with the part-time people that are coming for the summer. Is that only access to the outdoor pool, or does it give them rec center access?
It's full membership. It's just for a 3-month period.
I think it was really brilliant, because it may be that once they use it, they'll
Rope them in.
move over.
That's exactly. I won't say that's our main strategy, but that is a side effect of the strategy. Really, the main reason is because it's been requested. So
It has been requested, and I think this responds to public requests. It responds to a public need. But it also invites people in where they might be assuming it's not worth a certain amount, but once they get there and start using services this summer. And I think my last comment I want to make, do we have another presentation? No. I think council received an email and where we were somewhat accused of collusion with staff. I don't think that's the exact word that was used, but that's what it meant. And that we collude to rubber stamp your projects and that we're being led around by the nose. And I just want to say, we have one of the most amazing teams I have ever worked with. And that rather than collusion, I think we're in a constant state of cooperation, consideration, collaboration, anything but collusion. And you give us information, we get these big ideas, you take those big ideas and kind of operationalize them, bring them back to us. And it's an iterative process where we get information, we dream big things, it goes out, what's realistic, what's not, what's feasible, what's reasonable, and it comes back to us. And cooperatively, we are making decisions for the well-being of our city and for the growth and development and pride. I don't want to be in a city that doesn't take pride in its property and in its environment. And we want to maintain things. We want to keep them up. We want them not looking run down and dilapidated. We want it to be something we can be proud of. And I think by our ongoing maintenance and our ongoing investment in kind of bringing some of our aging structures up to par, that we save our initial investment and we bring it forward into the future. And the last thing I'll say is I recently was at a fundraiser where I was with a bunch of people from Cheyenne, and the topic of the rec center came up, and they are so jealous. They are so jealous. They said, we've wanted the rec center for 20 years. You've got it. We still can't get it to pass. So I thought that was interesting.
I like to rub that in the Parks and Rec folks. Every time I can.
This one should all know that when you do say that, you're throwing salt. We managed the 3 of the 6 mini campaigns that failed on the rec center in Cheyenne.
Oh.
That was
That's why we're here.
Aaron, I think about it. Thank one of those. I couldn't agree more. You know, I think about the staff, and when you were talking, I was thinking about how we listen. And the budget is a response to us listening to council over the time. And I think Brandon brought it up. You know, a lot of the things that we're proposing come out of the programs or the ideas or the discussions that you have, whether we're looking at the full investment. But was the full investment in the surface water drainage really limited some of the things that Jim and I really wanted to try to do this year. And so we had to pull back and think about the importance of what council would like to see, or our community would like to see, and how we bring that forward. And then you think about the position to support the rental housing or the SLIP program. You know, we're not going to get to those and do those effectively if we don't actually get them set up correctly. And then when you look at the capital projects that are proposed, you know, it moves so well, and it's about communication, collaboration, and keeping the open lines of communication. The parking task force is a direct response to try to create something to solve some things that we've been hearing to try to get this done. And so to me, when you talk about that, it's about listening. And I always tell the story, sometimes I hear my wife and sometimes I listen to her. It's about listening appropriately to council and not just hearing the words. We actually have to listen properly.
Can I add that it's not just listening to council, it was, I mean, literally at the meeting where one of our constituents was right here by face screaming about, he's turned out and couldn't hear very well, so that's why he was so close, but he was talking about street sweeping. He's like, why don't you do more street sweeping? And I'm, well, it's in this stormwater, you know, like, so it's not just, you know, listening to us, it's listening to our constituents, while listening to our constituents. This gentleman, were Manuel, it was just a little frightening, but it was, you know, like we do listen. We spend a lot of time listening to our constituents, to our staff, and I want to give staff here a round of applause.
I think it's prudent for one more reminder about budget amendments, and I will turn it over to Jen.
Okay, midnight. If you're an night owl, midnight on May 19th, or somewhere, you know, really until like 5 a.m. Is the truth of the matter. And so complicated ideas, big vision, maybe let's collaborate just a little bit to make sure that there's not a ton of work to do that's like not achievable to get it into form by the 21st, so that we can help Nancy meet her deadlines, which are super important. Like easy things, you guys all have experience doing this, do what you do, send that to us by the day. And if we have questions, we'll reach out. You don't have to worry about funding sources unless you have like a brilliant revenue idea. And we're gonna assume it's from cash reserves, or current period revenue as needed.
The other thing that I'd say is, you know, big picture ideas. Remember, we can work on these and we can do budget amendments and do some things in them as we move forward.
And before we go in, I'd like to remind everybody that tomorrow is a work day. And there will be coffee and snacks served at First Street Plaza.
And breakfast burritos, Mayor.
Breakfast burritos too. So it begins at 7 a.m. until 9 a.m. And I have been asked to read the proclamation at 8 a.m. So I'll be down there bright and early.
Put the tires up on my bike tonight.
Yeah, I gotta check mine. Okay, anything else? So we finished this work session, and I would like to ask if there are any public comments on this agenda item.
Mayor, it's prudent for me to let you know that we had kind of omitted one function that has been a springtime function of our city council, which is the open container area approval. So that will be added to the council agenda for next Tuesday under the consent agenda item. So we were working along, our crack public works staff reached out to me and said, hey, you want the signs in the same place? And I was like, oh, we're gonna get this to council. So that does start the weekend before, if approved, would start the weekend before Memorial Day. So I just want to make sure that you were aware.
Okay, and then is this our third or fourth year?
This is our sixth.
Sixth year. That applies to me.
Good catch, city manager. That one, we have some issues on our hands.
Yeah. So we've had plenty of public discussion about this, and I think what we received in general, the public is very positive about it. So, all right. Any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none. This meeting is adjourned.
Good job.
Good job.